the old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So
Yep.
Yep.
these are all there for you to know anything that's critically going on wrong on your system. And the sooner you react, the less of an impact it's going to have on your video surveillance or even your operations. So
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the In the Trenches Roundtable. Today's episode is going to be feature focused. Really love these ones. Love jumping into the granular details of our systems. So today we've got our awesome for panels.
hey,
Hey,
Hey
everybody.
guys, I think you just like talking to us, Ben.
Yeah, and also I just said that backwards. I said awesome expert of panels, but it's actually awesome panel of experts. So there we have it. There we have it. That's how today's going so far. So today again is a feature focused episode. We're going to be talking about critical system alerts. And so we're going to cover very specifically 3 system alerts. We're going to cover hard drive alerts. We're going to cover like video loss alerts, and we're going to be covering video tampering alerts. So of course, just to put it out there, of course, all of our systems have the traditional motion and video content analytic alerts. We've got specific videos to walk you through how to set all that stuff up in the description below. Today, we're focusing on system alerts. And that's really where I'll start. I think we should just dive right in. And can somebody help me understand what is a system alert?
yeah. So these system alerts are the ones we're going to be focused on, like you mentioned, are ones that kind of are key things on your system, key operational aspects, whether your hard drives are working or your cameras are all up and running, or if somebody's potentially blocking the camera like this. There's lots of things, these are 3 things that really impact the way your system is going to be working. And there's a couple different ways you can get the alerts, which we'll cover, but mostly we've got either push notifications through our SCW Go mobile application, or we also have email alerts you can set up in the system too if you prefer email. But yeah, that's the 3 we're going to be focusing on, and it's just there to let you know, is your system up and running as well as it can be, and to make sure that when you go and check footage 6 months from now, that camera is actually working. Essentially, what I would say.
Right? Or if your hard drive has failed or not, right?
Yeah, if you're recording at
But
all.
Yeah, that's an important one.
yeah. And
Very
can we just
important one.
spend a minute and talk about that alert first? The hard drive alert. What kind of alerts are available for hard drives and things like that?
Yeah, so I can actually help out with that one. So in the alerts section, you're going to notice that you're going to see quite a few different alerts that might pertain to your hard drive. One is that your disk is just offline. For some reason, it's just stopped working. Maybe there's trouble receiving power, or maybe the SATA cable has just gone bad. Something has stopped the communication from the hard drive to the recorder. And it also will alert for any abnormalities, like maybe there's just something going on internally on the hard drive that it just cannot write any longer. But it also alerts you if your array, if you set up a RAID is starting to go bad or is just damaged altogether.
Gotcha. And what type of notifications are we receiving, or what types of alerts are we getting?
So you can set those up for an audible alarm from the NVR itself. But then for outside of that, like contacting you, you can set up for email, or you can also set up for the push notifications in the SCW Go app.
I think one other really good feature is kind of unheralded, I guess, would be the hard disk full alert. So if you're somebody who needs you just set up your system and you need a certain amount of time. For example, you need 90 days because that's an industry regulation. It can alert you when your hard drive is full, and then you can make sure that, hey, I'm either getting the amount I need, or no, I'm not, and I need to make some adjustments or potentially add an additional hard drive. So that's one. If you do have like a regulation requirement, you may want to turn on as well, and just to give you the basis of when that actually happens.
And also to add on top of that, there's a space low one as well. So just to kind of prep you for knowing, okay, I'm starting to run out of space, before it actually does fill up.
Mm, Makes sense. And are these alerts that we would recommend them setting up like initially when they're configuring the system originally, or is this something you can do kind of at any time? Does it necessarily matter?
Oh, you can set them up at any time. I mean, if it's important to you, let's go ahead and get it done. And that way you're notified when you need to be, rather than, you know, coming 6 months later and figuring out, oh, I ran out of hard drive space, or my hard drive has gone bad.
So that makes sense. What, any other final thoughts on the hard drive alerts? Can somebody recap really quick, like what hard drive alerts are there?
Yeah, there's basically two types of alerts. Number one, something that's going to tell you something's wrong with your hard drives and that you need to sort of start looking at these in case, obviously all your footage is stored on these hard drives. So you want to make sure that they're working and everything. And then the other ones are more, based on the space of the hard drives, whether it's full or getting close to being full, you can get notifications on that. So it's really two things. Number one, making sure that it's working, and number two, that you've got enough space if you have a regulation requirement.
I mean, as simple as they are super important. So it's, a good thing to have set up for yourself.
And if they need help setting this up, this is something that Michael, you and your team would love to
Yes,
help
of
with.
course. Come on, SCW support. Let's go.
Love asking questions and know the answer too. Makes me feel so smart. So that's a good segue into our next topic or type of critical system alert, and that's video loss. Somebody want to help me understand exactly what video loss alert is?
Sure, I'll take this one. Video loss is anything that causes the video signal from the camera to no longer be received by the NVR. So that might be a power outage. That might be a breaker block. That might be somebody doing some construction and drilling into a wall and drilling right into your Cat5 cable, and now it can't send data anymore. That might be something like a network admin adding an extra device onto your network and mapping the fixed IP address on top of a pre-existing fixed IP address. Anything that is disrupting the ability for the camera to be able to communicate effectively with the NVR.
Gotcha.
Yeah, summed it up too well, I think, actually. I don't have
Yeah.
anything else. No, I think this is probably, this is one of the most important ones too, because there's like a lot of statistics out there. I think, what is it, like the New York subway system, a large portion of their cameras are actually inoperable, and it's sometimes it's because they just don't know, or sometimes they just can't get to fix it, or whatever the situation is. But you want to know when your camera's down for any reason, whether like all the reasons that Matthew just said, and you want to be able to fix that obviously as soon as possible to make sure that, because some people only use these systems, they don't check in daily. A lot of people only use their systems when they have a reason to use them. So they find out somebody broke into somebody's car in the parking lot, and they go to check that camera. Turns out that camera's been offline for 6 months because they forgot to plug it back in when they did construction or something like that. That kind of stuff happens all the time. And you just want to make sure that your system's up and running. And this is, your cameras are one of the most critical aspects of it, of course. So
I'd say that's pretty much the case too with the hard drive alert we just covered, right? Like,
yeah.
worst case scenario would be an event happens, going back trying to find the footage and realizing then that the hard drive wasn't recording the entire time.
Yeah, and we did a video recently on the installation side about maintaining your system. One of the things that we suggested is check it, quarterly or so, and this just allows you to have that in between time and be able to get alerts as problems come in, rather than having to go and spend the time to check. So it gives you a little bit more insight on what's going on with your system, without having to do a lot of manual work, or be able to check it frequently and everything like that. So it's just another tool to keep your system up and running as well as it possibly can.
Yeah. Any other topics on the video loss alert?
No, again, it's a simple thing, but it's important.
For
It's
sure. Question
one
on
of
this:
those.
is this something that you set up on a per camera basis, or do you set it up system wide?
You can set it up on a per camera. That's not a problem. I would definitely suggest, any camera that you add to your system, go ahead and turn it on. And actually, I want to say it's on by default. It's just the trigger actions of what is that alert doing for you is not set up on the back end. That is something you do need to, set up for your push notifications or your email to be sent out. But
Right. But if I have like a 32 or larger system, am I going individually camera by camera and setting these things up? Or am I doing it once and then
You
applying to
can
all?
copy over the settings from one camera to another. So if you end up setting up on one camera, you can copy that same alert to every other camera you have if you want to. So it just depends on, some people only want it on certain VIP cameras, I guess you could say, whereas others are, obviously they want to all their cameras for the most part. But
Just to be
And I
clear,
just
we
verified.
recommend doing it on every single camera.
yeah,
Yes.
And this also, to be clear, this does not replace doing that system health check. We recommend also doing that system health check every quarter, just to confirm visually they're still working. I mean, every once in a while you set up a user getting the alerts, and then that person leaves your company, and you forgot that nobody's getting that email anymore.
Yep.
So still want to keep doing that quarterly system health check, and we do recommend setting every single camera up for a video loss alert.
Yeah, and on a little bit more on the emails is that you can have in the email you can have up to 6 different recipients. So don't rely on just one person on those, especially if these are important cameras to your business or to your family. Have it go to multiple people. That way, just in case my email is not coming through on my phone, Matt, you might be getting the same email and be like, hey, Michael, something's going on. Did you get this message? It's just one of those things that, help yourself by having multiple people know.
That brings us to our last critical system alert that we're going to be covering today, which is the video tampering. How does this differ from video loss?
so video loss again is a disconnection between communication between your NVR and your IP camera, whether again all the reasons we mentioned before. This is a little different. This is if something is happening with the video image that is suspect. So the way that this most commonly comes up in is somebody putting either their hand in front of the camera, spray painting it. Shouldn't have done that because now I'm on. Oh, there we go. But it's either it's anything that's blocking the image than what it previously was, which is different from the video loss because that's just a straight disconnection. This could be somebody putting a bag in front of the camera, spray painting, etc.
Yeah, throwing your coat up over the bullet camera because it looks like a perfect coat hanger.
That's great. Does this solve that spider web situation or no? Like it won't detect things like spider
Probably
webs?
not because this is expecting a sudden change. This is something that happened
Mm.
from whereas like spider webs are kind of gradual. It may trigger it. I wouldn't necessarily rely entirely on it. But this is looking more for a very sudden, clear image blocking scenario.
I mean,
So-
if it's nighttime and a spider is climbing on your lens, it might set it off, to be honest.
Right, yeah.
It's looking for the majority of the camera lens to be covered. So all of a sudden you can't see anything. That's where it's going to trigger. So there are other scenarios where maybe you're not be able to see things very well. There might be fog on the lens. There might be a spider web on the lens. It might be raining or snowing, and that covering up part of the lens with little dots on it, for example. It's not going to usually send the alert in that situation. It's looking for everything covered. I can't see anything.
And this is one that I would recommend setting up on any cameras that are within the SWAT zone, as we've kind of famously now put. So if somebody can go up and they can reach it with like their hand, especially if it's in hand reach range, or if they're in a situation where it's kind of close enough to maybe with like a broom or something like that, where somebody can block it. And there are actually specific industries I've seen a lot of success with this. Laundromats are one of the first ones I thought of. I had a client that actually, most of the time they're low ceilings and cameras are typically on walls, and they're a lot of times do-it-yourself customers as well. And
College
all-
campuses are another really big one.
Yeah.
The amount of camera vandalism of people who don't want to be watched, is very high in that sort of environment. I think everybody should have this, but there are certain people like the laundromat example or the college example where this thing happens more frequently to them.
Yeah. And laundromats, especially because the one that I ran into, we specifically actually turned this on. They got notifications and were able to kind of act very quickly. Is they were being robbed from, it's a 24/7. Nobody was really there. Maybe they only had one employee's in the back or something. And they started going off after the quarters and the machines. And they knew that, hey, there's cameras over here, cameras over here. And they would grab their towels and put them around on top of them. And now they actually got notifications, were able to act and respond to that. So, anywhere there's people who I think Michael, you made like one of the best little lines on this series. I think when you talked about like the dome cameras is like we're they're good for anybody who doesn't necessarily want to be, because the dome protects the camera from damage. Kind of the same concept here. If you're a facility or an industry where maybe people don't necessarily want to be, so universities, schools, anywhere like that, police stations, etc., it's probably a good idea to have this on, and even more critical ones like jails and all that kind of stuff, to make sure that nobody's potentially messing with the camera feeds at all.
So that helps out a lot understanding like the difference between video laws, video tampering, why they're important. So we would all say that all three of these are critical.
I'd say so. Yeah, I think they definitely fall under the critical category. Each, the first two especially, are ones that nearly everybody should set up, and I think the third one, video tampering, is definitely one that most people should. There's no reason not to set it up. I don't think, but there are specific industries where that even matters even more than maybe a typical maybe regular environment. Regular office environment maybe needs a little bit less than jail, but definitely the office can still benefit from it.
Or some place like your laundromat example. I think another great one is a car wash. Like any time that you have a business that operates with nobody there, this is pretty common.
I'll agree with that. Definitely.
Any final thoughts on the video tampering or any of the other video or system alerts?
I would just stress, like, you want to have all of these on, for every single device. You bought that device, you obviously felt like you needed it. I don't think this is the sort of thing that you really want to choose a high value cameras, to enable this sort of stuff. Just turn it on across the board, get notified when something goes awry.
Yeah. One more thing on the tampering. I have seen a PTZ camera that was mounted up close to a wall with one of the wall mounts. Anytime that camera looked towards the wall, tampering got triggered. So we wound up turning it off there. So just I
Good
don't
point.
know. Just so you know.
I mean, it is effectively what the algorithm is looking for. Like,
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
my
So
view is suddenly
every
changed
time-
to not be anything at distance.
Yep. That's the only downside to video tampering that came to mind, honestly. It's just whenever that camera looked at the wall, it's like, okay, we're done.
I think my final thoughts too is the old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So
Yep.
these are all there for you to know anything that's critically going on wrong on your system, and the sooner you react, the less of an impact it's going to have on your video surveillance or even your operations. So spend the little bit of time it takes to set these things up. If you're having issues, call support, they'll walk you through it, everything like that, and you're going to have a lot better time if anything does go wrong with your system. So
Happy to teach.
Boom. Look at that. So all the links to the resources will be in the description below. Any of the other videos that we reference will also be there. Just to reiterate, these critical system alerts are different from video content analytics from the cameras or motion detection, right? Our cameras systems still do those things too. These are just some critical system alerts that we should have set up to help be proactive when these situations arise.
Yeah.
And that'll do it, right? That'll wrap up this episode of the End of the Trenches feature focus. So thanks so much for joining. If you have a feature that you want us to focus on, drop it in the comments below. Let us know. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
yeah.
Bye.